does is catch the football. That is beautiful. That's why I came to West Virginia, man.
Ding dong, the witch is dead in Arizona.
It's a totally energized Heinz Field, the power of the Renegade song.
The backyard brawl, man, against Pitt. Look at that. Oh, there's Wolfley.
Wow! They came after Donovan McNabb, went after him, they played to win the game.
Everybody's going bonkers, even the referees.
Oh, those look like some sticky gloves right there. We talk about 50-50. Right now it's 50-50. Who's going to get it?
Game came with cover zero, man across the board.
Pick up a flag because, hey, and then with the Renegade song, even flags don't count.
You're going to get an Italian army behind them right there, just like Franco Harris.
My goodness, that is pure guts.
Give me a pepperoni roll, man.
Hi, my name's Zach Frazier, and I'm from Fairmont, West Virginia. And when I'm back at home in Fairmont, you'll find me at my local Parmar store.
We had that golden boot pride at Parmar. There are literally hundreds of Parmar stores in West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and even more on the way. Download the Parmar app to save even more. And whether it's food, gas, groceries, or whatever, we have you covered at Parmar. West Virginia proud and ready to serve you.
If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
Hello, and welcome to the Three Wolves of Football, episode 12. The boys from Orchard Park, the Outsiders, with myself, Dale Wolfley, WolfMan, and of course, eldest brother there with his Syracuse outfit. You got Derry / Craig. We'll go backwards. Yeah, there you are. And of course, you got Ronnie Paul / Pony Boy. How we doing today there, Derry? How are you?
Doing fine. I thought this was episode 11, but I flunked math twice, so who knows?
And once again, you are wrong and you are correct because you did flunk, so that's good. How about you, Pony Boy? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Put on 5 pounds over Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's what the redo should be. Did you want to take it back? Would be not eating so much, maybe not looking like all pro commando at the moment.
Yeah, the cheeks are a little full.
He doesn't have a six-pack. It's now a full-on keg.
All right. Well, we've already kicked this off well, so we're going to have to go ahead and start this off. And this is a do-over. This is not so bad, but I have to make this point because I actually believe the same thing, Derry, that you believe. So do you want to do-over or do you want to stand put with what you said?
I'm just going to – I got to stand put. I'm moving.
All right, here we go.
Right now, okay? I told Faith, I said, I'm going to eat so much turkey and be so tryptophan out, you might have to Narcan me, okay, to bring me back. I'm going to be out on the couch tomorrow, baby.
Okay, it's not that you weren't out on the couch, but turkey tryptophan myth. And that is turkey is often blamed for that sleepy feeling after Thanksgiving dinner. But the real reason is because you're eating a lot of food, especially carbohydrates, causing glucose levels to spike and then crash.
Exactly, which I found out too. And I was a little miffed to learn that the tryptophan was not the culprit anymore. It's like the half a pie or full pie that you eat afterwards. And baby, I did it too, man. I was crushing the pumpkin pie.
I think it's all part of a conspiracy. That's all it is right there, honestly. These guys want to come out and say, it's not the tryptophan in the turkey. It isn't, even though we all know it is. So I am the grassy knoll. You know that. I'm not going to listen to any of these conspiratorialists that are out there.
Have you been to Dealey Plaza? Did you actually do that? I've been to Dealey Plaza. Dealey Plaza, where JFK was assassinated. I've been to the grassy knoll.
You have? You've actually seen it?
I walked it. I walked the whole thing, man. We were down there. Oh, we were down there filming for the Super Bowl. Was it 45 with the Green Bay Packers?
Yeah.
And we were right there in Dallas. We went to the 6th floor museum where they still have the whole sniper's nest still laid out there. Yeah. I stood on an X on the road where one of the shots hit JFK. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Are you buying what the government was selling?
Well, I interviewed on a podcast General Michael Hayden, who's a big Steelers fan, who was in charge of the CIA, and that
Of course.
And so I'm interviewing him, and I look at him and go, first question I got to ask you, was there a shooter on the grassy knoll? He goes, no. And I went, no, it can't be.
That's amazing, man.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Really interesting how you could go from Tryptophan to JFK and walking in Dealey Plaza. Just so you know, that takes a stretch. And
Yes, it does.
This is what a fine Syracuse education does with half a dozen or so concussions.
All right. Okay. Well, good.
Especially when you smile.
Well, you know what? We actually haven't heard a toothless joke in 2 shows. I counted. Oh, you slow down, Pony Boy.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
And happy Thanksgiving to you, and 20 great years, and we have it all again today. We have turkey legs, we have turkey, we have turducken, and we have the biggest thing, the tradition of Thanksgiving and football. Some things just go together greatly.
They sure do it.
Honestly, John Madden, Thanksgiving, he talked about, the food, the football, and it's just pretty amazing. Pony Boy, start out with your thoughts about John Madden, because I know you got a few.
Yeah, he started it all for color analysts. He really did. Before John Madden, I would venture to say that the play-by-play man was the guy that was the show. He was the show, and then you just had a guy that was there to talk about the technicalities of the game, of course. John Madden changed everything. He really, really did, and really paved the way for so many broadcasters like myself and like Craig as well, I think, that are a little on the gregarious side of doing broadcasts and letting your personality really come out and really show during a broadcast. He's the guy who started it all, if you ask me.
Oh, absolutely. The bang, the zoom. But, I was also influenced by another guy, Myron Cope, of course, who was the great Myron Cope, who was, he was like a skinny John Madden. He was that way too. But Madden really changed the template. He made football fun in a way that the common person, they just like to watch the game, could understand some of the intricacies, because he just kind of, he just described it in a way that was so much fun to listen to and to watch.
Yeah, it's so true. And what I want to say is, you got the boom from John Madden. I like to say the boom, and he had the boom in there. But here's the greatest thing I loved about John Madden in my memory, and that is that when Kathy and I first had our first child, Stone, obviously, that's your nephew if you don't remember.
Yes.
Okay. But
we got that. Come on.
3 months it took for us to actually go to a social gathering, a party of friends. And of course, Pony Boy says, "Hey, I'll babysit for you." And we're like, "What do you mean babysit?" And if you remember that picture of you and the lung darts and the earring and all that, that was at that time. And so we're like, "Okay, we're gonna let Pony Boy go ahead and babysit." So we go to the party. They're like, "Well, where's your son?" I said, "Well, he's back to being babysitted." I said, "The funny thing is my brother Ronnie, Pony Boy," I said, "is my babysitter. John Madden described him as the craziest dude he's ever seen on the football field. That's my babysitter." And I was the hit of the party, because it's so cool that my brother was the All Madden team, craziest dude John Madden saw, and a babysitter.
That's good, Soda Pop. I do remember that. Of course, babysitting Stone Vaughn, no doubt about it. I don't know if my eyes were on him as much as anybody else, but I do remember that, and it was one of the better moments of being an uncle, let me say.
Yeah, I'm sure, man, because he sure did like to pile in that diaper just for you, brother. We're gonna
go there, man.
Yeah, we're going to go with this. And this is something going back to Orchard Park in our days growing up. And the last couple of weeks, the Bills had to go to Detroit with the Lions. They had to travel there because the snow was too great, over 5 feet in one snow setting. And they had what they call thunder snow. Okay, Derry, you're the oldest. Let's go back to some memories at 45 Hodson Road, Orchard Park. I have a feeling I know where you got to go, but go ahead, start us off.
Oh, I mean, you just remember the times that we were just buried in the house. The house we all remember, was not that big, and then you got the 5 of us and great googly moogly, it was like you'd start getting irritated just by somebody breathing in the same room, because you're around each other so much. But I remember Dad one time tunneling now, mind you, from the house to the road when the snowplows finally came through, then walked behind the snowplow about a half a mile to the intersection where there was a little store to get bread and milk and coffee. You know what I mean? And then coming back. But he actually tunneled from the house to the road. It was absolutely bizarre. But I mean, that was life in Buffalo back then when we were getting the big snowstorms.
Do you guys remember the blizzard of 77? I mean, I know that you do.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Blizzard of 77. Unbelievable. What happened up there just a couple of weeks ago, of course, to me at least, was very, very reminiscent of that, where they had 77 inches of snow in some places fall in a 24-hour period. Guys, I mean, that is exactly what happened with the blizzard of 77, which shut down the city, which I know you remember, for almost 2.5 weeks. Incredible.
That was incredible. I remember there was a buddy of mine who had a picture of him leaning up against he had ridden his snowmobile. He was on a big snowdrift, and he was leaning on the top of a basketball backboard with his elbow. I mean, it was unbelievable. That mound was so high. And all I remember was, because you know what? I was in Syracuse at that time, and I was so grateful that I was in Syracuse. I wasn't there during the blizzard of 77.
Yeah.
What's interesting is I can remember all the storms that I've had to go through, just so many. But the one that I remember most is when right after the storm, they plowed all the streets. And if you remember on the streets, the plow would go, and it'll be 8 feet, 10 feet high, the size of the streets. You just had nowhere to go because the snow just kept coming. And Joe Paterno came over for my recruiting trip for my visit home. And he parked right behind the driveway. And, of course, he got locked there because somebody smashed into his car. Our coach who had a high school coach who had his back brace on because he just had back surgery. No. Joe parked in the driveway and bam, right into the back of Joe Pa. So I remember that very special, the snow and the 8-foot drifts, the 10-foot drifts, and Joe Pa getting locked in because he couldn't get in the car door.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? You're forgetting one point of that as well, too. Joe Pa, of course, and the coach he was with when they backed into our mailbox.
And crushed it.
Interesting, because Joe Pa was just moments earlier sitting in our living room telling Hoopy just how awesome our sticky buns were. Yet there he was backing into our mailbox. See you later, Joe Pa.
Wham!
Right.
Hey, and Derry, do you remember that Pony says that other coach was the scrapper, Tom Bradley?
Tom Bradley, yeah. Oh, yeah. I love Tomo. He's a great friend of mine. Scrap Bradley, he's the brother, of course, of Jim Bradley, who's one of the team doctors, one of the surgeons for the Steelers. But I see him around, and it's great fun. As he always said, Dale was the talent in the family.
Yeah.
Yep. And obviously his brothers are the brains. Regardless, he was at Penn State for about 35 to 40 years, man, as assistant coach.
He's a great man. Great guy.
Absolutely. So, okay. Well, let's go ahead and let's go to more great coaches. And I think you're going to like this.
A loss. And I walk on the play and I look at and a lot of times the coaches will be there, on their computer and everything. And I'm like, fellas, the reason why we got beat is because we can't tackle and we can't force the run. Like all the rest of this is a bunch of garbage. This isn't about a computer, get into some space world technology. We can't tackle.
Derry, I just saw that, and it was two of the guys that are most successful, one in the college world and one in the NFL. And it's the truth. It's simplicity. It's fundamentals that are just fundamentals that I don't think that a lot of coaches know how to even coach it anymore. Go ahead.
Well, let's talk about it a little bit. I mean, you've got, of course, the issue with you want to have, safety in football as best you can. But, you're going to bang your head some, and that's part of the process of football. I remember way back in 7th grade learning the basics, the fundamentals of football, of blocking, of moving your feet, of rolling over that front foot, rip to rack with your fist, put your forehead and the chin of the man over you, and then move him back against his will. And that was always the most exciting and fun part for me, was the physical challenge of doing that and doing it over and over and over again, because the battle would just ensue the entire day. I remember one time playing up at Syracuse, we were playing Navy, and I got locked up with a defensive tackle. And you know how it is when you got two guys just going, and you're waiting for that tipping point as the back goes by. He reaches for the back, and that's all I need at that point. And we go, oh, we're going over. And I hear the guy go, this is going to look horrible on film.
Yeah.
I mean, who does that? I wish I could meet that guy again. He was the funniest guy playing against him. But again, it's the basics, the blocking, the tackling, what have you.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, to follow up on that right there, it's interesting that you've got Bill Belichick, who is actually commenting on this right here, because I know for a fact what a believer he is in those two things right there, blocking and tackling. The fundamental components of the game of football. And guys, it's funny because I know as here we are in the year 2022, I know that a lot of people, they're blending the spread, of course, with the old, and that's what's going on in the NFL right now. There's a clash of the new mentality and the old mentality that's going on. I think the more things change, the more they stay the same in the game of football. It is still about the line of scrimmage. I honestly believe that. I think the new age offense has taken our eyes and our thoughts off the line of scrimmage. I think it's removed our eyes to the perimeter, to the wide receiver, to the tight end, to the quarterback and the running back, of course, the skill positions. And I think we forgot about the line of scrimmage. And it's one of the reasons why I say that the more things change, the more they stay the same, is because of the Georgias of the world, the number one team in the country right now. It's because of what they have on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, if you ask me. They control the line of scrimmage, and that's why their skill can do what their skill does. It's kind of like what's going on in the game of football, too. You look at the turnaround of the San Francisco 49ers. It's on the line of scrimmage that they're beating people. Their front seven, you can't run against their front seven. You're running into a wall, so they get you into third and obvious pass situations and then come after you. It's just, I am convinced the more things change in the game of football, the more they stay the same. And I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it.
It's kind of like what you have heard before. It's just KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Because I think you get too caught up, too much of, what's the analytics of this, the analytics of that. And analytics, I think, has a place, obviously.
Totally.
Your gut feelings have a place. And the thing that I cannot take is the lack of fundamentals in both that tackling and blocking that is being coached in today's game. Matter of fact, I watched the West Virginia-Oklahoma State game this last Saturday. I could not believe how either team looked like they did not want to win on defense. They had The gap integrity was lacking in all areas, especially when you have a freshman running back go for 250-plus yard runs for touchdowns in a matter of 1 minute. And it's just there's not that tackling there, and they don't bring their feet with them. They're not got their head up. They're just all over the place. They don't know the angles to come in on pursuing. Really, to me, it was just and it's not just West Virginia, Oklahoma State. I see it all over college football. And what I will say is this: I don't see that at Michigan. I don't see that with Jim Harbaugh, and I agree with you with Georgia. But Ohio State just took a shellacking because somebody just went old school on them. And I'll continue with that, and that's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to stick with it.
I like it, Soda.
I just went old school there.
Think about it. The fundamentals of the game are not changing. It's still about the ability to move people. And the interesting thing is you get this sort of hybrid mix of now you've got the players that once were safeties, now they're playing linebackers. You've got linebackers on the outside that they're like stuffed turkey balls of linebackers playing defensive end. It's the game is built around speed now. But if you get 5 guys who are very close, 5 guys who stick together, 5 guys who really can form a fist and come off and lay a lick on somebody, you can win the game, man. You can go right at them. And it's just what you were talking about, Ronnie, what you were talking about, Dale. I still appreciate the fundamentals of the game. That's what was so exciting. Since you've retired, Ronnie, we've had probably close to 100 rule changes in the NFL. In the same time, the British Premier League, they didn't have any rule changes. Leave the game alone. The game is it's a great game. It's a wonderful game. I just wish they'd stop with all the modifying of the rules and kind of get back to some of the old school stuff that really made me love it. All of us coming from a small brethren church, where it's turned the other cheek. And we had yayas, all 3 of us boys, and it comes a point you don't want to turn the cheek, man. You want to have at it. And that's what football was, that sort of, outlet for us.
Yeah, that was the great thing about it. Right, Soda Pop? I mean, that was the great thing about it, is you could walk in between those white lines and act like an unmitigated savage. And it was okay. Because once you walked outside those lines, of course, man, I've said this before, but it's the truth. You could love people, respect people, and treat them better than yourself, just the way the Lord God wants us to do. But man, once you walked inside those white lines, it was like, here we go. You ready to go?
It was a little bit of a release from church.
Yes, it was.
Okay, moving along.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, let's get to Mavman here. I put this on here because when I was a head coach at Phoenix College, I used to tell my guys so much about, hey, you know what? There's so much football out there, Division III, Division II, NAIA, Division I, G5, FCS, wherever somebody wants you to go, because it was a junior college at Phoenix College, wherever somebody wants you to go and pay for you an education, use it, and you'll be the big fish in a little pond. If you make it to Division I, it's wonderful, good for you. But in all those areas, you can get your education paid for and still play the game you love. And Maverick is the case here, where this weekend he's going on to round 3, and he has to go ahead, and he's got to beat Wingate to go ahead. He's to the quarterfinals. I mean, here's a guy, Maverick. He played Division I, and unfortunately at Akron, they lost. Like they were 0-21 or something. And he's like, Dad, I just want to go and play for someone that wins. Well, he goes to West Florida. There's been 2 national championships in 7 years, and they're battling in here. So I just want to say this, and I want you guys to say about how much football is so important. It doesn't matter what level you play if you love the game.
Yeah, Soda Pop, I can just jump in here and just say right now, I tell kids all the time, I get an opportunity to talk to a lot of the kids, and I tell kids all the time, listen, the main goal for you should be to do whatever you can to get somebody else to pay for your college. What a huge deal that is. I remember back, Craig, when you were being recruited by all these colleges that were coming in when you were 18 years old and I was 13 years old. And I was just like blown away. I was blown away by the fact that, wait a minute, you're telling me somebody is sitting in our living room right now and they're recruiting Craig because they want Craig to come play football for them, and they're going to go ahead and pay for everything, room, board, books. It blew my mind. Yeah, it blew my mind, Craig, because we were a family of 7 people, 5 kids, of course, our mom and dad. Our dad was a trucker, and I'm so proud of the fact that Dad was a truck driver, yet at the same time, we grew up on a dead-end street that emptied into a gravel pit, and we didn't have a lot of money. Let's put it that way. We did not have an awful lot of money, and the thought of football could actually pay for your education to go to college, that just blew my mind. And then I remembered, Craig, the way you would work out when you were 13 years old, and it was freezing outside, and you were out in the garage working out with weights, right, when you were 13. And right. I started working out the way you started to work out. And
what's really funny about that too, now that you bring, because we had in our garage, it was an unheated garage, in Buffalo, New York, and we were just talking about the winters, and it was very cold, and it took a lot on some days to get out there because your skin would stick to the bar, and then you got to wear gloves and everything. But I remember one time, I'm out there, I'm going, forget this, man. It's too cold. It's just too cold, right? And I go into the kitchen door, I start turning the handle, and it's locked. I'm like, well, what's up? I get pounding on the door. Hey, Hoopy, Mom. Hey, Mom, I want to know you finish your workout. Well, okay, I'm finished. You haven't been out there long enough to finish it, right? She's got me, right? I'm pinned in the garage. So finally, I plead. I gotta come up with something, sympathy. Mom, I'm dying of thirst. I need something. And all of a sudden, I hear this boom, boom, boom. And all of a sudden, click, and then a hand comes out with a glass of water. And then quickly the door closes, and I'm stuck there with a glass of water, freezing my keister off. But I finished my workout.
You finish your workout, you got a 4-year scholarship, and you played 12 years in the NFL because Hoopy stuck that glass of water out there.
Yep.
A little bit of hard love is and can be a good thing. That's really good stuff. And I don't have anything else to say. I just want to say is that Maverick right now has an opportunity to advance and move on. His education's all been paid for, just like my other boys that they used. And I just love the game of football and what it's done. Because reality is this: Dirty Pony, myself, my family has all and still does rely on the game of football. Don't tell me it's a game, because it's a living for us.
It's a way of life is what it is. I look at Mav. Mavy is just, what a terrific athlete the young man is, first of all.
Great kid.
And then, just an absolute stud and a super fine young man. Love the kid like crazy. And watch his dedication. He sends me his lifting videos, and he's, I'm like checking it out and everything. Okay, go a little deeper, not cut that a little bit less, bench with the elbows not so flared or whatever, but I mean, I love it because he wants whatever advice he can get. He's that hungry. And I love that about him. And I love the fact that he wanted to go somewhere where he had an opportunity to win. I can understand the frustration. I went to Syracuse. We had some rough years, but we were able to finish up and went to a bowl my senior year, the Independence Bowl down in Shreveport, Louisiana. That made the previous 3 years all worthwhile because I was with the guys and we were down there together and we won, and it was just a tremendous moment of accomplishment and resurrecting some of the fortunes of Syracuse football.
I remember too, it was the General Omar Bradley. They rolled out in a wheelchair.
They did.
It was the Independence Bowl, if I remember right.
World War II, Independence Bowl, yep.
And what an honor that was. I remember that. How young was I? That's pretty wild.
Absolutely. Now think about this also. One of the big features of the Independence Bowl was the San Diego chicken. Where is he now? The chicken's gone.
I love your experience, of course, at Syracuse University, Craig. I wish I could say that I had the same experience as you did, but I went to 4 bowls, and our team finished top 25 all 4 years.
What can I say, man? You were in the right place, buddy.
Yeah, but he did play one more year in the NFL than you.
Well, he played 2 more, actually.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Who's counting? This I remember from West Virginia. We rolled in there. We played in the old stadium. You remember the rock pile? That not the new nice stadium they got now. But what I remember was we were parked outside after we finished our workout on Friday, the day before the game. We're in the bus, and all these local yokels come out of this one bar that's across the street. And you want to talk about trouble starting to brew. We got some West Virginianites coming out from a little saucification there in one of the Hooskow, one of the little joints there. And we got some riled up football players about to clash. And they had took a little cooling off period. Had to get that thing mitigated.
Yeah, they had the flat boots on, and the flat boots means they were miners, if you know what I mean. Coal miners.
I know exactly. That's why, you know what? It was appropriate that things were averted.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Just go. It's funny, though, that you call that a rock pile when you come from Old Archibald Stadium.
Oh, I know. Exactly. From rock pile to rock pile.
Exactly. And that's the good thing about it. And from that rock pile to the new rock pile we have with the XFL, I was able, and this is a little bit of self-pumping here, but on the Wolfman's Call, my other show, I was able to interview Anthony Beck, who is now the head coach for the St. Louis Battlehawks of the XFL. And here's the question that I asked him regarding a situation as a head coach and how would you coach this? I want to hear what you guys, Dirty, I'll let you start it. 4th and inches. Will you go from the shotgun or you put your quarterback under center?
No, we'll be under center. That's not going to happen. I cringe.
Okay, so 4th and inches. Are you shotgun there, Derry, or are you putting the quarterback under center and getting 4 to 5 inches?
We get under center, we go forward. And I'm telling my hogs, you guys V in, make sure your pad level is lower than their pad level. If they get underneath you, cross face them, turn their head, and then marinate their ribs with your knees, okay? That's how you do it old school style, okay? And you get that 4 or 5 inches, and hopefully you get maybe a foot, maybe 2 feet, maybe a yard. But you're going to get it. You get it under center, and you just tap and go.
Here's one of the best things. One of the best things I've seen in the modern era is the Philadelphia Eagles. Have you seen them when they go for it on 4th down? They put Jalen Hurts under center and literally have 3 guys right behind them. They run up to the ball, and then they snap it immediately on a quick count, right? And boom, they quarterback sneak him, and the guys behind him are pushing him in the back. It is the most effective short yardage situation that I've seen in a long, long time. Kudos to the Philadelphia Eagles for rethinking the obvious.
That's a great point.
Rethinking that I need 3 to 5 inches, and I'm going to go 5 yards deep in the snap so that somebody can penetrate, have time, a defensive lineman or back or safety, whatever it may be, can penetrate and stop you. I just don't get it.
Agreed.
Okay. No, I agreed with that. Again, old school had it down best. There's 2 things in the NFL that I love. One is when the quarterback sneaks, because that's simple, boom. And the other is when you take a knee at the end when you got the game, baby. That's all there is. And the old days too, by the way, when you got the formation, quarterback gets back there. Back in the day, it was no gimme that the boys on the other side weren't going to come. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
now,
right.
You see it, everybody practically takes a knee. Back in my day, back in your day, it was like if you knew somebody on the other team, are you coming? Because you just buckle it up because they're going to come in and try to howitz it, just crush you. And you got to come out and you got to fire out and make sure that nobody penetrates.
Yeah, you know what, guys? As I think it ought to be. Seriously.
Yeah.
This is the great thing about the game of football. I ask no quarter, and I give no quarter. I mean, not while you're out on the field. Again, you ask no quarter, you give no quarter. That was the great thing about it, being out on the field. You could tap into that.
Here, I see Vita Vea, the defensive lineman for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's huge and he's big, and he's running a tech stunt. And just go ahead, check it out. I love it. You can see him. He's coming off. He's taking up 2 offensive linemen, allowing for the defense end to come around. You all know it. Even Pony with you as a fullback. You've seen that how many times? A million times. It's just a simple tackle first and second stunt. But if you do it the right way, as Big Man does it here, there's so many things. Who are your guys? And Pony, you already talked about the fridge last week. I'm not talking about the fridge, but who are you guys would give you the most problems with those stunts? Because that's hard, man, because you got to stop that guy initially, the first guy. You have to stop him so that your buddy here doesn't get railroaded like Vita Vea just did to him.
Well, the funny thing about it was I was just talking to a guy that used to run that stunt all the time. It was Marty Lyons, great lineman with the New York Jets, Alabama product, 6'5", 300 pounds. And he was just in town when the Jets and Steelers were playing. And it was funny because we were just reliving the last game, Terry Bradshaw's last game at Shea Stadium. And what an epic battle we had, because neither of us, would give an inch, and it was just a battle all day. And how much you enjoy that, then to come back and see the guys that you played against years ago and be able to kind of, go back and reminisce about it. It's fun and it's enjoyable. But Marty Lyons was one of those guys. He had a great bull rush. He also had a really good swim to the outside, and he'd get to the inside of the tackle. But the one I remember was that we were playing the Browns, and they ran the reverse of that. They ran an ET where the end would crash first, and then the tackle would come around. Now, I'm telling you, I watched film all week long, and I knew this dude was coming. I can't remember his name right now off the top of my head. But he would go up the field, and he'd make a hard left to try to blindside you, and your tackle had to jump him to keep him from blindsiding you, right? But I was hip to his game, because here's the thing. When he came straight up and he started to shake, I knew that game was coming. When he came straight in a bull rush, it wasn't coming. It only happened when he would head fake, right? He tried to get your attention and everything. So the whole first half, we're playing him, right? And I am ready for this. Every obvious passing situation, I'm waiting for this. The bang and me game is what we called it, right? The whole first half, third down in this third quarter, all right? I set up to pass protect, and this dude shakes over me. He shakes over me, right? And I know it's coming. I turn, and I see the dude coming, and I, speared him head first right in the groin. I drill him, right? And he goes down, and I'm standing over, I'm jumped up, I'm going, I've been waiting for you the whole entire game. I was like... It was so funny, man. It was just the poor guy. It was a bummer for him, but it didn't always end good for me either. Let me tell you. But that point I'll never forget was just I've been waiting for you this whole game, man, and now I got you.
Are you saying, Craig, that he suffered a testicular fracture? Is that what you're saying?
I ain't saying nothing. All I know was it was painful. And like I said, I've had my own share of where those went wrong.
Well, one thing that we have verified in this whole program time and time again is nobody wears a cup.
Yeah, right. Nobody.
Yes. Going back to our previous shows, previous watchers will understand what we're talking about.
I was acting on quality control, okay? I was just checking to make sure that we have what we had called as the uniform Nazis, right? Check.
They say gird up thy loins, not cover up thy loins, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that brings me to this next point, because, losing your mind is something that can happen in the game, especially if you get hit or just caught up in the emotion. And last week, with Seattle going against the Vegas Raiders, there's an interception by Quandre Diggs, and Darrell Taylor, the linebacker, he runs off the sideline, and he comes out and he tries to get away and blocks. And the funny thing is that nobody noticed this. Okay, not the ref. No, nobody noticed this. And so my thing is this: you make the call. You guys are broadcasters. Pony, I'm going to start with you. How are you calling this if you saw it? First of all, if you saw it, because nobody caught this till after the game.
Well, once again, if I saw it, it's 12 men onto the field, throw the flag. I'd be saying that. Somebody ran from the sidelines onto the field. First of all, guys, let's just talk about, I've never seen anything like this, ever. I've been around the game for a long, long time in different capacities, but I have never seen anything like this where somebody runs from the sideline onto the field. You have to ask the question, young man, what's wrong? What are you doing? That's bizarre.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever seen that either. I have been the one guy short that should have been on the field.
Me too.
If you remember in Syracuse when I was a freshman, I got moved. I started at offensive tackle, and then I moved up to first team on the extra point field goal, and I kind of forgot, came off the field. And so when they started screaming for me, and I all of a sudden realized I ran by Frank Maloney, the head coach, and he kicked me right in the keister. And I remember Dad afterwards, he goes, "What did he kick you for?" I go, "Well, I kind of forgot I was supposed to be out there." And he goes, "Oh, he should have kicked you harder."
If I could add to the story, because I was on the sideline with you.
That's right, you were.
I remember, I think you were looking at the cheerleaders.
No, that's complete rumor. Complete rumor.
I think you're like, oh,
Stop it.
you're in trouble out there in the field. And then you realize it was you.
By the way, to any young men that are out there right now listening to this, never look at the cheerleaders. Okay,
No.
Don't look at the cheerleaders when you're trying to play the game of football. Okay, we call it the blood sport for a reason. You don't want to be thinking of anything soft and beautiful. You want to think of hard and ugly. Okay, you got it. Stick with it.
There you go. Words to live by.
Okay, and where's the lip? We're going to go here, and we're actually going to go to the Steelers, and this is your highlight call there, Derry, and it's a pretty good one with Najee Harris.
Off tackle right to Najee Harris. Now, this is one of these bang, bounce, or bend we got to do something with. And he started to bang it. Well, then he banged it, then he bounced it. Got to the outside and did a terrific job of gaining the outside leverage on the defense and then running with power upfield.
You've talked for the last few shows here, and I'm sure on your radio show that you do, as you have been talking about the Steelers establishing the run, and it sure seems like they've been picking it up.
They really have over the last several weeks now. They've been doing a great job of putting the running game together, and it was really highlighted in this last game here where they rushed for 172 yards. That was a terrific job. It was a running back by committee. It had a number of people jumping in there. Najee got hurt I think about halftime or so, but Benny Snell came on. Very productive runner. Really, one of the things I really salute Benny about in this game was the fact that he hadn't had a carry all season long. In his first 2 years, he had over 100 carries, so he was a contributor in the backfield. Then his total dropped in his third year. His fourth year, he comes in. He's remade himself, much like Ronnie, a fullback, a core four special teamer, but he got the opportunity to carry the mail. 12 carries, 62 yards against the Colts. He answered the bell, and I was so impressed about him is that he hadn't had a snap all season long, right? I mean, we're in week 12, hadn't had a snap all, and he comes along and does a great job. It's about being a pro, being ready. When you're called on, you answer the bell, and you do it right. Man, he did it right.
Hey, that's good. Hey, Pony, talk briefly then about being ready when it's your turn to be called up.
Yeah, it's a constant state of being a professional as far as I'm concerned. You train all week long. You train all week long just like you are going to be the starter. You hear guys say that all the time, but that is the only way to do it. The only way is to act as if you are going to be the starter because you are one play away. You have to be ready, and that's a mindset, and that's something you've got to train yourself to do throughout the entire week. It doesn't start on Wednesday. It doesn't stop on Thursday. It's the entire week that you've got to prepare your mind for when you might be called upon, and it's not an easy thing to do, but it's the only thing to do.
Let me just jump in and point out what you're saying is so true, because think about it. It's so easy to get down.
Yeah.
I haven't contributed. I'm not contributing. I won't have a chance. It's not like, well, for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we're talking about 10, 11, 12 weeks, right? And all of a sudden you're called on. You got to be ready. You better be ready. It's like my line coach at Syracuse once said, sometimes, fellas, he said, the train only comes around once. When it comes around, you better be ready for that opportunity.
The truth. Exclamation point to that. Well, let's get going here. And Pony Boy, Cards had a tough day, and this call pretty much sums it up of why the Cards had it, because I think it got a little snake bit.
Oh, baby! Big Red with a big play on defense. The ball was tipped at the line by Zach Allen. Batted the ball into the air, started wobbling like a duck, and Zaven Collins came down with it. What a huge play by Big Red.
Yeah, and by the way, that was an excellent call. And unfortunately, they reviewed it, and it wasn't an interception. But that was just the way the whole game went, because the Cardinals should have won.
Yeah, you know what, honestly, the Cardinals, they played probably their best game in all three phases for 3 quarters. The defense gave up 17 points until the very last possession of the game for the Chargers. Think about that. They did a great job limiting the Chargers to 17 points. And then suddenly the Chargers took the ball, went down the field, the last possession of the game for them, scored a touchdown, went for 2, and actually converted the 2-point conversion. Very difficult to see the defense play that well and then give it up at the end. But it was the same way with the offense as well, guys. The offense played extremely well through 3 quarters. They had 181 yards rushing. They were 54% on 3rd down. They were doing a great job moving the ball. They were 100% in the red zone in terms of red zone possessions, converting into touchdowns. They were doing a great job. And then all of a sudden the 4th quarter rolled around, in their last 4 possessions, they had 11 plays for 16 yards. Their last 4, they went 3 and out. They had a 24-17 lead. They went 3 and out. They still had a 24-17 lead. They went 3 and out, and they still had a 24-17 lead and went 3 and out. And it was those 3 consecutive 3 and outs to end the game, basically, that really put them behind the 8 ball. And it's the reason why they ended up losing the game. The offense, when it mattered most in the 4th quarter, disappeared. And that is pretty much summed up the entire season for the Cards.
Right.
That was interesting because, I'm sorry, Dale, but just with the Steelers, fight with the Fighting Saturdays, as we call them, the Colts, the Steelers had a great first half. They scored, 16, 17 points in the first half. But they had that swoon in the 3rd quarter when the Colts came out. Dallas Flowers returned the kickoff for 89 yards and set up a touchdown. And before you know it, you're a point down. But here's what I loved about seeing Kenny Pickett. He rallied the guys. They had the 3 and outs in that 3rd quarter, but he was able to rally the guys with an 11-play, 75-yard drive in the 4th quarter. It says so much about a young man. He got his first come-from-behind 4th quarter victory, and kudos to Kenny Pickett. He is truly the Sundance Kid, man. He's better when he moves.
Well, that's an excellent point, and it really does say a lot about a young man who's just fighting his way in front of millions of people as a rookie and their Steelers fans. That is not easy. So kudos to him. And I'm going to say this. I made a big deal at the end here about, fundamental tackling, fundamental blocking. And I want you to see this, and you tell me, is this a lack of fundamentals or is it just inept? Offensive line, Gert Bowles of the Broncos trying to go ahead and making the effort for the tackle. Is that a lack of fundamentals, or is that just being inept on the defense?
That's a fat guy running out of air. What can I say, man?
I don't know what to say, Soda Pop, other than, oh my goodness, I missed that. I did not see that. That is bizarre.
That was like week 3. I've been hanging on this for like 8 weeks.
Okay.
I did not want to bring it up. I had so much other material I wanted to get at, but I'll tell you that's just great effort.
Well, you guys are the offensive linemen. You guys, I have no idea what that's like. Because if I'm going to go ahead and try that, I'm going to at least get the arm full extension.
First of all, I'm going to get a lot closer. Second of all, if it was you can't do it. That's like flopping in soccer. Okay, I mean, it's like somebody sniped him from the upper deck. Okay, and you kind of like, I'm sorry, man. We got to.
I won't even say that. Never mind. Okay, so
just let it go.
Yeah, I'll just let it go, and I will say that, brothers, professional. Once again, loved your calls. And I want you to think about this, all right, this week. I know you're not going to think too hard about it, but with the USFL coming out and the XFL, what opportunities does this do for young people, not just like Maverick, but for A.J. McCarron, who got drafted? I really want to talk about that next week and where it can go. So think about that. I love you guys. Thank you very much. And that's it for the 3 Wolves of football.
Love you guys. Thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate you.
Love you, Hoopy.
Yes, Hoop. We love you.